The Revolt of 1857. The Great Revolt of 1857, or the First War of Indian Independence, was a result of the resentment and anger against the unjust and exploitative British government in India. It was the first great and direct threat that shook the foundations of the British rule in India. Causes of the Revolt of 1857. The Revolt of 1857 was caused by the cumulative effect of the discontent that was brewing in the minds of the people. The causes of the Revolt of 1857 can be broadly classified into political causes, economic causes, social and religious causes, military causes, and finally the immediate cause. Political causes. The aggressive expansionist policy of the British and the indiscriminate annexation of Indian states created resentment, mistrust, suspicion, and fear among the Indian rulers and their subjects. The annexation of Awadh, in spite of the loyalty of the Nawab, created panic. Nana Sahib was denied his pension and forced to leave Pune. Bahadur Shah Zafar, the Mughal emperor, lived in Delhi as a pensioner of the British. Economic causes. The peasants were distressed by the land revenue systems that made excessive demands on them. They lost their rights and were often evicted from land. To add to the problems, there were 12 major and several minor famines between 1770 and 1857. The decline of the handicraft industry led to too much pressure on land. The drain of wealth, lack of modern industries, and unemployment added to the economic grievances of the people. The interests of the Indian economy were sacrificed for British trade and industry. The traditional handicrafts industry collapsed. Nothing was done by the government to develop modern Indian industries. The annexation of states led to large-scale unemployment and economic distress. Social and religious causes. The orthodox sections of the society deeply resented social reforms such as the abolition of sati and the Widow Remarriage Act. The British looked down upon the Indians and followed a policy of racial discrimination. The Indians felt threatened by the activities of the Christian missionaries who tried to convert people. The introduction of Western education undermined the position of the Indian priestly class. Military causes. The Indian sepoys had helped the British establish their empire in India, but they were neither appreciated nor rewarded for their efforts. There was grave discrimination between an Indian sepoy and his British counterpart. The Indian soldiers were paid less than the British soldiers. In 1856, an act was passed which required all new recruits to serve overseas if required. This hurt the sentiments of the Hindus because they believed that overseas travel would lead to loss of caste. After annexation of Awadh, the Nawab's army was disbanded. The soldiers lost their means of livelihood and their bitterness against the British increased. The Indian soldiers greatly outnumbered the British soldiers. This emboldened the sepoys to take up arms against their masters. Immediate cause. The new Enfield rifle cartridges introduced by the British to the ammunition had a greased paper cover that had to be bitten off before loading the rifle. The cartridges were rumored to be greased with pig and cow fat. This enraged the Indian sepoys, who felt that the British were deliberately trying to defile their religion. On 29 March 1857, Mangal Pandey, a sepoy, refused to use the cartridge and attacked his senior officers. He was hanged to death. Main events of the revolt. On 9th May 1857, 85 soldiers in Meerut refused to use the new rifles and were sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. Enraged by the humiliating treatment of their comrades, the sepoys of Meerut army rose in revolt. The sepoys stormed the jail and freed their comrades and attacked their European officers. The sepoys then marched to Delhi, where they were joined by the local sepoys. Bahadur Shah Zafar was proclaimed Emperor of Hindustan. The success of the revolt proved to be short-lived. The British recaptured Delhi and Bahadur Shah was exiled to Rangoon. Soon the revolt spread like fire to other parts of the country such as Lucknow, Kanpur, Jhansi and Gwalior. Main centres of the revolt of 1857. Nana Sahib rose in revolt in Kanpur with the help of Tantya Tope. The sepoys of Lucknow were joined by the disbanded army of the Nawab. Rani Lakshmibai fought gallantly in Jhansi and Gwalior. The revolt was crushed by the British by July 1858, 14 months after the outbreak at Meerut. Results of the revolt of 1857. The rule of the East India Company came to an end. India came under the direct rule of the British Parliament and the Queen of England, Queen Victoria. The new government announced that the treaties with Indian states would be honoured. The doctrine of lapse was abolished. The right to adopt sons as legal heirs was acknowledged. The army was reorganized and strengthened. It was also decided that the Indians would be given opportunities to take part in the administration. The British government said that it would not interfere in the social and religious customs of the people. A general pardon was granted to all the rebels except those who had killed the British.